little short video just to help you with exams. All right, just exam technique, looking at some command words and what they expect in an answer. All right, so again, you don't need to head up or anything, or if you want to make some notes, you're more than welcome. I'm just going to run through some words that will pop up at the start of your questions and what exactly they look for. Okay, so you know, a lot of kids are confused about this. So the first and lowest skill ones, or lowest kind of command words, are state, identify, name, and list. There'll only be 1 or 2 mark questions. You may have a list question that goes into 3 things, and you have to list 3 things. In this case, the question is simply asking you to give a 1-word or short word answer. Okay, you can be asked to identify something from a source, a photo or map, given in the exam paper. Here you must identify from that source. So if you're asked to identify or name something given in figure 1, and you see it's a picture of a coastline, but then you just name something random that's not actually in the picture, you get 0. Okay. Pay attention to what comes after these words. For example, state the definition. Then this is asking you to give the meaning of something and needs to be answered in a full sentence. Okay, so just be careful reading the questions. All right. Usually, these 4 words mean you can give a very, very brief answer. Moving up a little bit, label is another 1 or 2 mark question, and then define would be at least 2, if not more. All right. So label, again, this will use short 1-word answers, which usually need to be put on or around a photo or a map in your exam. Be careful to study a source fully before adding labels. All right. It can be very easy to think that these will be easy and write down a short answer without checking fully. Alright, so remember, every mark counts, so please don't just jump in thinking it's easy because it's short. Define 2 marks. Okay, you must give a full written sentence saying what something is or what something means. Alright, you need to know your vocabulary. Very simply, I think I said at the end of this, if you don't know the key words, you won't understand a lot of the questions because they load them with vocabulary. No short answers on a definition. And try not to use the words in the meaning, so if try and use different words in your definition. Okay. Pretty simple again. Calculate, easy one. You'll be given figures or a graph or a table of data and asked to calculate an answer. Always show your workings. Even if they don't say show your workings, just assume they need your workings. Okay, because sometimes they'll give you nothing if you just write down an answer. Okay. Compare is a tricky one because it can go from 2 up to 6 marks. You need to give both sides of a point or issue. You must address both sides or you'll only get half marks. Okay, so if you're asked to compare 2 types of volcanoes for 6 marks, if you only talk about one type, the most you'll get is 3 marks, simple as. Okay, remember as well, you can compare likenesses and opposites. So you can say what's similar about things, okay, and then you can say what is not similar about things. That's still a comparison. They don't always have to talk about the opposites. Trickier now, and again, describe can get up to 6 marks. Explain can actually go up to 12 marks. I should change that. Alright, but these don't actually ask a lot more than, if it's a 12 mark, you're still only being asked to explain. You're not, very rarely do they ask for evaluate or analyze or justify. So describe, a good way to remember this is say what you see. If you're asked to describe a photo, you say what you see. If you're asked to describe a picture or a scenery or a setting, you don't need to give reasons. So describe asks you what something is like or how it works. You do not have to give reasons as to why it is the way it is. Okay, that's what explain is, and a little bit as same as suggest. So to explain something, you must give reasons as to why something happens, is the way it is, or how it changed. So if I ask you to describe something and I ask you to explain it, it's more difficult. Okay, so you need to go into give reasons as to why it is the way it is. No short or brief answers with these. No 1-word answers. All full sentences. Describe, explain, suggest. Okay, quite often you're asked to give a number of reasons. If you're given a 6-mark question with explain, you have to give at least 3 points. Explain 3 ways humans can damage coral reefs. Okay, one way is through overfishing, and then explain why. Why does that damage coral reefs? A second way is through global warming and climate change. How does that affect coral reefs? Okay. Also, what I would say is the longer the questions get, please read these answers back to yourself to ensure you haven't just repeated the same point again and again. Alright, so make sure you're making different points each time and explaining them fully. Always read back long answers, always. Whether you do that right after you've written it or wait until the end to give yourself 10 minutes at the end to read back through with a fresh mind, okay, and you might find some mistakes. I would always answer suggest the same way as I do as explain, all right? Always give answers, or give reasons, I mean, sorry. Last couple of points, okay? If a question asks you to do any of the following: using sources A and B, reference figure 1, using figure D, all right? If it uses any of this where it tells you to use a photo or a graph or a map or a table of data, you must mention the source in your answer. So you must use something from that source, be it something that's in the picture, figures from the data, position on the table, anything like that, okay? You have to. If I'm ever given a question about a source or a graph or a map or a photo, I always mention it in my answer, just in case. When dealing with a graph, always check things first. Check what the axes show, all right, and check their unit of measurement. Now, remember the one recently on tourism about the number of tourists that visit, was it Bermuda or Barbados or something, and the numbers went up in hundreds, but at the bottom it said measured in thousands, okay, and people wrote down 200 when it should have been 200,000. So just be very, very clear of what you're answering. Again, with these short questions, you might think, oh, nice one, I'll get through these really quick. But please be clear on what you're doing. And again, I just want to mention the use of geographical terms. Okay, there'll be a lot of them in the questions themselves. So if you don't understand those words, you can't understand the question. Okay, that's just a little bit of help with some command words.